children. Welcome to General Science class. In today's lecture, we are going to continue our force and pressure chapter. Let us recollect of what we have learned in our previous lecture. First, we have learned about force. Basically, a force is a push or a pull. Then we have learned about characteristics of a force. Characteristics of force are when direction of force changes, the impact on the object also changes. Force can increase or decrease. When applied in the same direction, it increases. When applied in opposite direction, force decreases. And force is expressed in both magnitude and direction, hence it is called a vector quantity. Then we have learned about Newton's first law, which states a stationary object on which no force is acting remains stationary, and an object in motion continues to move with the same speed and direction when no force is acting on it. Then we have learned about contact force, when a force seen to act through a direct contact of the objects or via one more object, it is a contact force. Then we have learned about non-contact force, if a force applied between two objects, even if the objects are not in contact, such a force is called a non-contact force. Then we have learned about balanced force. Balanced force are those two forces acting in opposite direction on the same object. So, and anytime if there is a balanced force on an object, the object either stays still or continue to move in the same direction. The next is unbalanced force. When unequal forces are applied to an object on two sides, an unbalanced force acts on an object, resulting in imparting motion of an object. That is, it moves an object. Then we have learned about frictional force. Frictional force, it is a force that acts opposite to the direction of movement. It helps to slow down the moving object. Then we have learned a new concept called inertia. Inertia is the tendency of an object to remain in its existing state. Inertia is classified into three types, that is inertia of state of rest, inertia of motion, and directional inertia. Learning about force was very interesting, isn't it? Today we will see an equally interesting topic, that is pressure. What is so interesting about pressure? We will see. You must have observed the tires of the two-wheelers and four-wheelers getting pressurized. Isn't it, children? Have you seen? You can see the tire getting inflated by applying pressure. You can see the air filling machine. It has a pressure indicator dial, or you can see it is a digital meter showing the digital reading of pressure. Yes, the machine fills the pressure to a certain value, isn't it? You are aware that a force has to be applied for filling air in the bicycle tire with a hand pump, isn't it? You can see the picture where a person is inflating a cycle tire. So from this, what are you thinking? So by applying force, air pressure is increased and then the air is pushed into the tire in both the cases. So are force and pressure related? From these, we may conclude that when force is applied, pressure increases. Yes, but only force is related to pressure? Let us see. Let us do a small activity. Take two sharp nails. Children, be careful in doing this. Better do it with the help of your parents or elders. Take two sharp nails. So first, hammer the sharp end of the first nail into a wooden plank, or you can try it in the wall if it is safe. So what do you see? The nail easily gets inside the plank. Then take the second nail and try to hammer the head of the nail, that is invert the nail and try to hammer it. See, like shown in the picture. What do you see? Does the nail gets inside the wall? No. Why so? Because if you see both the cases, in the first case, the surface area of the nail, that is, it is having a sharp edge. The surface area is very, very less. If the surface area is less, the pressure is greater. So the nail gets into the wooden plank very easily. But in the second case, as we are applying pressure on the head of the nail, if you see the head of the nail, it is broad. So the surface area is large. So the pressure is smaller. So from this we can conclude that pressure depends on both the things, that is force as well as surface area. Let us relate this concept with an example. Have you seen camels walking in the desert? Yes, they comfortably walk over the sand. But if we try, we find it very difficult. Why is it so? If you see the feet of camel, the bottom surface is broad. As you can see in the picture, the bottom surface of camel's feet is broad. Hence, the camel's weight is exerted on a large area. If you see, the surface area is very large and the pressure on the sand is reduced. This is why the camel's feet do not penetrate into the sand and it becomes easy to walk. Children, this is the same reason we find it easy to cut vegetables and fruits with a sharp knife and not with a blunt knife. So, we clearly understood that pressure, force and surface area are related with one another. Pressure can be defined as the force exerted perpendicularly on a unit area. So pressure is the force exerted perpendicularly on a unit area. The formula of pressure is equal to force upon area. We all know the units of force and area. Unit of force is Newton, is expressed as capital N, and area is measured in meter square. Therefore, the SI unit of pressure is Newton per meter square. It is also called as Pascal or PA. In atmospheric science, in atmospheric pressure, which is a very important factor, the unit for pressure is measured in bar. That is, 1 bar is equal to 10 raised to the power 5 Pascal. As pressure does not change with the direction, it is a scalar quantity. So, unlike force, pressure is a scalar quantity. Let us learn pressure in detail. Pressure is exerted by all air, water, solid. That is, pressure is exerted by everything. If it is a solid, the pressure is due to the weight of the solid. If it is a liquid or air, it is due to the weight and also its fluid, that is flowing capacity. We know that we are all surrounded by air. So air pressure is exerted on all the objects kept in the air. When a weight is kept on a solid, so pressure is exerted on it due to its weight. So this pressure depends on two factors. One is the weight of the object and also the contact area between the two. We know that pressure depends upon surface area as well. So the pressure on solid depends upon both its weight and also the area of contact. So let us do an activity. Take a ruler and keep the edges on both the sides. As you can see, keep the edges so that the base is not supported by anything. Let it be like a rod hanging on something. Now take 4 textbooks of equal weight. It may be equal weight. You can choose any other object also apart from book. So take 4 objects and see, one after the other. Okay, keep one by one, spread it equally on the scale. What do you see? Does the scale bend? No, the scale do not bend. But take all the objects and keep it one over the other. You can see one is placed over the other. Now what happens? You can see the scale bending down, isn't it? Why is it so? In both the cases, the weight is same, isn't it? What is the difference? Since all this is exerted on a same place, the pressure is high, hence the ruler bends down. In the first case, the area of contact is spread along the ruler, but in the second case, the area of contact is only one and also the weight is high. Hence, we see the difference. Let us see some examples related to this concept. You must have seen a vegetable vendor carrying basket on her head. She always keeps a twisted cloth on her head. Can you see it? Yes. Why she does so? Because the weight of the vegetables in the basket should not affect her head. So it is being taken and equally distributed by the cloth. Then if a person is standing in a place for a longer time, say 5 to 6 hours, it will be very uncomfortable. But the same person is sleeping for 5 to 6 hours. Is it uncomfortable? No. Why? Because when you are standing, the weight of your body is tolerated by your legs. Okay. That is, the area of contact is very less. But while you are sleeping, the weight of your whole body is being distributed over a large surface area. That is why you feel comfortable while sleeping and uncomfortable while you are standing in a place for a longer time. This is the same reason why a person skiing has a long flat board. His weight is being distributed equally over the skiing plate so that he can ski comfortably. Let us learn about pressure on liquids. So we'll start with an activity. You take a plastic bottle, take a 10 centimeter long piece of glass tube on which a rubber balloon can be fitted. So warm up one end of the tube and gently push into the bottle at about 5 centimeter from the bottom. You can do it with the plastic tube also. See, this is the glass. You can see a balloon being fitted into the tube. See the tube and the balloon being fitted at the bottom. Now, sometimes you may see a water leakage. To avoid that, you apply wax in this portion on the side of the glass tube. So now fill the water slowly in the bottle and you can see the balloon inflating. So what happens when you pour water, the water enters the balloon. Why? This liquid start exerting pressure on the balloon and the balloon starts inflating, increase in size. The same can be seen when you are just having a glass tube alone, or it may be a plastic tube also, and you see the level of water in the first tube, the level of water is less, so the balloon being inflated is also less. In second, the level of water is high, that is more water, so the level of the balloon getting inflated is also high. So from this we understand that liquids also exert pressure on the container on which it is present. The pressure of the water acts on side of the bottle also. So let us understand it with one more activity. You take a water bottle and pierce it with a thick needle at 3 points as shown in the figure. You can see, so one is at the top, the other at the middle, the next one is at the base. You so pierce it at 3 different points. Now fill the bottle up to its full height. So now what will you see? You will see water jets coming out of the bottle. It is emerging out of the bottle. But you will see a difference. The water jet coming from the hole at the top. So from this top, it will fall very near to the bottle. But the water jet coming out from the base, that is near the bottom, will move the farthest from the bottle. So you can see here 4 holes are placed. So this is the first one and this is the last one. You can see the difference in the water jet emerging out of it. So it falls very near to the bottle, where the last one, it falls farthest from the bottle. When the water jets are coming out from 2 holes at the same level, here you can see the bottle, the holes are at the same level, isn't it? Yes, the holes are at the same level. Water also falls at the same distance. So from this, what we can understand, at any one level the liquid pressure is same. So at a given level, at any one level, the pressure is same. Also the pressure increases as the depth of the liquid increases. When the depth of the liquid increases, the pressure also increases. Let us now learn about gas pressure. If you have a balloon and you are inflating it by filling air by mouth, it inflates on all the sides. But if there is a hole created on the balloon, air leaks out and the balloon does not inflate fully, or the balloon bursts. So it is realized that, like liquid, gas also exerts pressure on the wall of the container in which it is enclosed. All of us have heard the word fluid, but we always relate it with only liquids. But it is not true. All the gases and liquids have the common name fluid. Fluid is given to something that flows. We know that water flows, but we know that air also flows. So both air and water have the common name fluid. So fluids, if they are there in a container, they exert pressure from within the container, on the walls of the container, and also at the bottom of the container. That is, they exert pressure equally in all directions. Let us move on to our next topic. You can see the globe surrounded by buzzing something. What is it? It is nothing but layer of air. Air surrounds the earth from all sides. Since there is air, the earth experiences pressure due to this air. This pressure is nothing but atmospheric pressure. So air surrounds the earth from all sides. This layer of earth is called atmosphere. The atmosphere exists to about 16 kilometer height. It is 16 kilometer height and it further extends up to about 400 kilometer in a very lighter form, that is called very dilute form. So you can see the earth and how far the atmosphere goes above the earth. The pressure created due to this air is called atmospheric pressure. What is so important about this atmospheric pressure? Imagine that a very long hollow cylinder of unit cross-sectional area is standing on the surface of the earth and it contains air. See, this is the area cross-section, this is the area, unit area, and imagine it is a cylinder. Imagine it is just a cylinder standing tall above the earth up to where the atmosphere extends. It may go till the last layer of atmosphere, we can say. And we know that this cylinder is filled with air. This cylinder is full of air. We know that air has mass, isn't it? Yes. Let me take that this unit area is about 1 meter square column. Okay. If it is 1 meter square, the mass of air present inside it is about 10 power 4 kilogram. That means about 10,000 kilogram of air is present per every meter square. Isn't it surprising? The weight of the air So the weight of the air here will be forced in the direction of the center of the earth, because our earth is having gravity. Gravity will naturally pull the air. So the weight is the force applied in the direction of center of the earth. So it will be forced towards the center. Are you thinking the same? I am also standing here in the surface of the earth. There is a column above my head, so that will also extend up to the last layer of atmosphere with full of air. So am I carrying that much weight on my head? So we can imagine our head may be 0.1 meter square. So for 0.1 meter square, it will be about approximately 1000 kilogram of air. But I never felt it, did we? Are we feeling this 1000 kilogram of air above your head? No, but how I am surviving out of it? We will see that further. So this means that atmospheric pressure, when calculating atmospheric pressure, normally pressure is calculated by the ratio of force upon surface area. Here for atmospheric pressure, it will be the ratio of this weight. Instead of force, we take weight into account divided by area of surface. Why I am not getting crushed by atmospheric pressure? Actually, we constantly bear the atmospheric pressure on our heads. However, the cavities in our body are also filled with air, and arteries and veins are filled with blood. Here you can see our heart around with the blood vessels. They are all filled with arteries and veins. And then you see this is the blood vessel and blood flowing in it. You see the blood vessel. So this is the wall of the blood vessel and the blood exert pressure in the wall. Due to all these, we do not get crushed underwater also, and due to the atmospheric pressure, as the pressure inside the body is balanced with the outside atmospheric pressure and water pressure. Air pressure at sea level. The air pressure at the sea level is called 1 atmosphere pressure. Air pressure decreases as one goes up in height from the sea level. As you can see, at the base of the sea, the pressure is very high. When you move up above the sea level, the pressure decreases and it is very less pressure. 1 atmosphere is measured as 101 into 10 power 3 Pascal, which is otherwise called as 1 bar, or otherwise can be noted as 10 power 3 millibar. 1 millibar is approximately equal to 10 raised to the power 2 Pascal, which is otherwise called as hectopascal. The atmospheric pressure at a point in air is equal from all sides. If air exists in a closed container, the air molecules in random motion continuously hit the walls of the container. As you can see, this is a balloon in which air molecules are trapped. You can see these molecules, they are not stationary. They are moving continuously and hitting the wall of the balloon. So this is how they hit the wall of the container and exert pressure. In this interaction, a force is created on the walls of the container. This creates a force on the walls of the container. The pressure is created due to this force. So, we experience force from all the directions. So, atmospheric force acts on us from all the directions. I think by now you will have a clear idea about pressure and what it does. Now let us summarize of what we have learned in our today's lecture. First, you have learned about pressure. We know that pressure, force and surface area are related with one another, and force exerted perpendicularly on a unit area is called pressure. Then we have learned about pressure of solids. The pressure depends on the value of weight and the contact area between the two in the case of solid. Then we have learned pressure on liquids. So liquids exert pressure on its container. The pressure of the liquid increases as the depth of the liquid increases. We have learned about gas pressure or air pressure. Air also, like water, exert pressure on its container. Then we have learned about atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure is due to the layers of air that is surrounding the earth, and the pressure is due to the weight of the air being forced towards the center of the earth. We do not feel atmospheric pressure over our head since the pressure inside our body is equal to the atmospheric pressure outside the body. We can try a small homework for this session. Your first question is, how much pressure do we carry on our heads and why don't we feel it? Second question is, you look at the picture of a dam is given. If you see the base of the dam, the wall at the base of the dam is very broad. Okay, why it is so? So try to find answer for these two questions. There are more interesting concepts left out in this chapter. We will see that in our next module. Thank you.